Ladies and gentlemen, if you're able, would you please rise and remove your caps for the singing of the national anthems, accompanied by Bruins organist Ron Poster. Please welcome Todd Angilly.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the AM Productions Podcast. This is episode number 16. Today I have Todd here. He works with the Boston Bruins, and he's also the national anthem singer. And let's hit the intro.
Hit the beach and ride the wave, buy a plane and fly away. Let me know if you're here to stay. Baby, this could be every day, so say it twice so you have to know. Windows down, let the wind blow. Take a ride to the beach coast. Too many places we can go now. Too many places we can go now. Too many places we can go now. Too many places we can go now.
Hey everyone, before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about our amazing sponsor, Kingdom Touch Barbershop. If you're looking for a fresh cut or a new style, this is the place to be. Kingdom Touch Barbershop isn't just your average barbershop, it's a community hub where style meets comfort. Located in the heart of Taunton, Massachusetts, they offer a range of services, from classic haircuts to modern styles, beards, grooming, kids cuts, women's hair, blow, dry, and style, trimmed, braids, dreads, retwists, and even hair extensions. Their talented barbers and hairdressers are not only skilled but also passionate about helping you look and feel your best. What sets Kingdom Touch apart? It's all about the experience. When you walk in, you're greeted with a warm smile and an inviting atmosphere. Plus, they prioritize hygiene and safety, ensuring a clean and comfortable environment for every client. And here's the best part. You mentioned this podcast. When you book your first appointment, you'll receive 10% off your first haircut. It's a great way to treat yourself while supporting a local business. So whether you need a quick trim or a complete makeover, make your way to Kingdom Touch Barbershop. Check them out on Instagram at Kingdom Touch Barbershop. Their grand opening is December 1st, so we hope to see you there. Make your first appointment today. Let's get back to the show. And remember, a great haircut can change your day, so choose Kingdom Touch Barbershop. Todd, give me a little background about you.
All right, well, you kind of hit that. I'm the national anthem singer for the Bruins. I also work within state government. I work for the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. Work in the prison system, actually, helping the inmates acquire employment upon release. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got that dual life going on, you know. So, and that's pretty much it. I live in Linfield, Mass. I have 2 children, married, and just loving life right now.
There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So how did you get the job at TD Garden? Did you go into it thinking that you'd be the national anthem singer, or did you just want to be a bartender?
Yeah, no. So I started working there when I was going to grad school in Boston. I was in the opera program at the New England Conservatory, and always worked in food service. So I was actually working at Fenway and at the Garden. Back then it was the Fleet Center, they called it. It's back in '98. And just go back and forth between each of the Fenway and the Fleet Center, you know, depending on the season and all that. And but it was, you know, studying music. I was actually singing. I do a few games a year at Fenway and down at the old Foxborough Stadium in Gillette, and even for the Celtics. But I never thought of even like touching the ice. Like you know, that was a really unique experience I had. I would go down, you know, we'd be working. Back then I was working in the Suites kitchen, and right around the time the anthem for Bruins games was gonna, you know, come on, I'd leave the kitchen and I'd go out and I'd watch Renee Rancourt, the prior singer. And not only was I watching him and, you know, what he was doing, but I was watching the effect it had on the crowd and the fans. And I immediately was like, I don't think I want to audition for that.
Yeah.
He's kind of got this sewed up. You know, incidentally, he, you know, did it for 42 years, and he was just an icon, you know, a staple. So it was more of just being, wanting to be in his presence and just enjoy what he created there. Yeah. And but then, the opportunity came along, and it was very, very weird and unique.
Yeah. How do you prepare yourself before stepping onto the ice?
You know, it's changed over the seasons, and not bad in a way, but you know, I take it very seriously, and I think both because I personally take the song very seriously, but I know that the fans take it seriously too. So you always want to bring your A game, you know? You know, and I don't think of what I do is as important as, like, you know, you've got, you know, such well-conditioned, professional, awesome athletes out there, and people are going to go crazy for a guy who walks out and sings a song for a minute and a half. But, you know, to prepare myself, you know, I used to get very focused on, you know, not wanting to mess up and not wanting to, and kind of forgetting about, hey, I'm out here on the ice and look at this, there's a crowd there and everybody's enjoying it. So over the years, I've really kind of shifted focus and really wanted to take in the experience and make it new. And what I've learned over the years too is that obviously it's sort of like a show in a sense that every night there's going to be, you know, you have your season ticket holders and you have the people there that are there all the time. But you got to remember that there's somebody there for the first time. And I want that to be a great experience. But my focus has always been, as well as the fans, is the players. So I think I just try to be focused. I try to do the song correctly. But you know, you want to have fun and you want to get people fired up. I get some feedback sometimes about, you know, how I sing it, if I hold a note too long or something like that. But that's because of the effect it's having on the crowd. And I react to the crowd. But, you know, over the past couple of seasons, I've really tried to take it in and kind of look around and see the crowd and all that. So as far as preparing your question, I just, you know, try not to psych myself out and just have a good time with it, but still take it seriously and know that everybody's there and they want the best that I can do. And, you know, I try to bring it every night. You know?
So how did you exactly get down there? Was there just a night that, like, they needed someone, or was it, like, how did you get the whole role?
Yeah, so it's kind of both. So going back to what I said about never even wanting to try to get down there, at the urging of some friends, I looked into it and found out that towards the end of Renee's career, he would take maybe about a dozen or so games off, or, you know, he wouldn't, you know, sing. So they needed what they called fill-ins. So they would actually every year have an audition for fill-ins. So it was almost like, think of like the movie Rudy, like you're going to be on the scout team, you're never going to be the you know, on the starting lineup, but, you know, we just need you to fill in whenever, you know? So, and again, not that I didn't take it seriously, but, you know, 1 or 2 games a season, I'd sing, I'd bring my wife, and we'd make a night out of it. We'd go down there, I'd sing, we'd go out to dinner, we'd have some fun with it. But I think it kind of started to gel. There was one night when there was a fill-in who was scheduled and didn't show up. And at this time, I was bartending at one of the private clubs. And so the woman who sends me out on the ice, Sam, I hear some woman screaming in my club, and it's the first year that Vegas is the expansion team, and it's a Thursday night game. My club is absolutely packed to the gills. It's a Thursday night, which is notorious, you know, and I hear this woman screaming my name, Todd, you know, and I look over and it's her, and she's got the headset on and the clipboard, and she's like, there's like 8 Boston cops with her, and she's going, you got to sing, and the club is inside the arena, so I look out at the jumbotron, or what do you want to call it, and the game clock, it's like 6:45, game's at 7, and I'm like, and I go to ask her a question, and she's like, there's no time, and some cop grabs me and like rips me out from behind the bar. They hustle me down, get in the elevator, they bring me down, they throw a jacket on me, somebody puts a microphone in my hand, and I hear the announcer, Jim Martin, who's since retired, but, you know, notorious, say, now to sing the national anthem is Todd Angilly. And I just walk out, I sing the national anthem, and I walk off the ice, and I'm like, can someone tell me what just happened? They're like, the person who was supposed to be here didn't show up, so we knew you were in the building. So, all right, thank you. And I went back to work. And, you know, I don't know if that kind of put me on their radar or whatever, but it was definitely a cool experience. And I went back to work, and that was that. But then later, Renee would announce his retirement. So they said that there was going to be, they wanted a video submission, and then they were going to do live auditions. So I submitted a video. I jumped in line just like everybody else. I submitted a video of both the Canadian and the national anthem. I got called in for a callback audition. There were 52 people doing live auditions. I still didn't think I wasn't confident I was going to get it, you know, because still, And from that, they announced that they were going to pick maybe 10 or so singers to kind of rotate through that first season. And they were going to pick from that and see how each singer, you know, what kind of effect or whatever their test was.
Yeah.
And they just kept calling me back, and then the playoffs came, and I ended up doing, you know, game after game, and, you know, they weren't giving up too much information, and that was the year they went to the finals against St. Louis, and here I was in Game 7 of the NHL Finals, and still not officially or, you know, named the singer, but I said, listen, I'm going to keep showing up when they call me, and that's that. And then right maybe about a month before the following season is when they called me and said, you know, you're the singer.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
That's awesome. And you don't bartend anymore, or did you still do it while you were the main singer, or did you stop after you were the main singer?
So last season was the first full season that I stopped. I actually resigned that position. And not for anything bad other than, you know, this role of being the singer has brought a lot with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun stuff, and it just has really filled up my schedule, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I miss the money and all that stuff, but, you know, sometimes, you know, some things are more important than money, and being involved with certain foundations and fundraisers and organizations, and even being asked to go to, you know, I don't want to throw it out there to Marshfield, but, you know, I'm going in and singing at high school games, and it's a lot of fun, and you know, I'm getting as much out of it that I hope that the people who listen to me are getting. I get to go to college games and sing, and other professional events, or, you know, whatever, and you know, the high school stuff, and nothing is any less or more than the other. I'm having just as fun time, and I get to bring my kids with me, and it's hilarious, and I just love doing it. So I've left that behind, and you know, my schedule is filled up from, you know, corporate events to sporting events to whatever that is, you know.
Do you have any specific rituals you do before singing?
You know, it's interesting, and I'm not saying people who don't play sports don't understand, but, you know, I played sports back in the day, and sports notoriously are pretty superstitious.
Yeah.
So I have kind of fit into the superstition of the pregame ritual that goes on, and what's very unique at the Garden is everybody, they're known as the Bull Gang, but everybody there that is part of that production, so to speak, has a role, and the same person does the same thing at the same time. So I really appreciate being a part of that.
Yeah.
So just like quickly, when the refs come out, they walk by, and then I walk in behind the refs, and then the rug comes.
Yeah.
And then you know, so it's almost as if you don't know it's a different night, you wouldn't know everything is the same. And I enjoy that. So as far as rituals and stuff, I just like being a part of that production, so to speak. And the Bull Gang and everybody involved has taken me in, and we have a great time. And like I said, I have to pinch myself every so often, because it's just, you know, I'm very lucky to be a part of this, you know?
Yeah. All right, so when you were bartending and singing, bartending during a game is an intense environment on its own. How do you switch between singing the anthem in such a spotlight, then working fast-paced at a bar setting, like going back and forth?
Well, it's funny, because somebody said something like, "Oh, there goes Todd. He's going to go put his Superman suit on." Yeah. But it really, that's kind of what it was. You know, I would get in there, set the bar up. You know, club members would come in 2 hours before game time, and then right when the team came out for shoot around about 6:30, that's when I would leave, go to the bathroom, put my suit on, go down, sing the anthem, and then I would come back up and switch, you know, change back into my uniform and go back to work. And you know, it was just you know, being in a different role, and you know, the important thing to me is to make sure that, you know, I'm always me. I'm nothing bigger or better or anything like that. You know, I'm just a very lucky person, and the way it makes everybody real positive and smile, and they seem to have you know, all the people all the club members and the people in the bar would just get jacked up for it, and kind of feed off of it, and I would feed off of that. So it was just something that I actually almost feel like we shared in it, or they shared in it with me. Yeah. You know, and it was I was lucky in that environment, in that club. It was very like a family, because it was the same 80% of them were members. So they were there almost every game. So you just got to know these people, their families, their lives. Just on the outside, we were, outside of singing, you're getting invited to Christmas parties and family events and stuff just because you became a part of their, So it was easy to, be in one role and then in another, just as long as you got to keep yourself, you got to stay humble and know that, you know better than anybody else.
Yeah. What are the most memorable interactions you've had with Bruins fans and players?
I would think after this is my 6th season, but it's almost as if, I don't know if it can get any more fun or any more it's probably not my most, but it's just something that jumps out. I'm also pretty clumsy. So I do remember during the finals, I actually accidentally, or I think we both agreed that we bumped into each other, but Rob Gronkowski was the flag waver, and he came from one corner and I was coming from the other, and we literally banged into each other. And I like to tell people that, had it been an open field tackle, I might have, but no, it was just funny, but we both laughed, and we were both really goofy about it. I've had some really serious interactions, meeting some, I won't say names, but, individuals that we all know that are in the sports world or whatever, with people that have gone through certain things. They'll pay homage to them on Hockey Fights Cancer Night, or different things that have happened in the community, and being able to meet these people when the Bruins have brought them in. So a little bit of both. As far as fans has just been, it's really interesting to me to walk down the street and to be asked for a picture. But again, I flip that on, that's not, I don't take credit for that. I think I'm 49 years old, I grew up in Rhode Island, but New England is we're a very rabid fan base. We watch our sports. We take it seriously. And I don't think you really have that anywhere else in the country. So, when I'm walking down the street, only in New England does the national anthem singer get stopped for a picture. You know what I mean? So that's been great. The fans have just been so supportive, and it's just been great to meet people in any type of environment or event. And then other than Gronkowski, and there's millions, I have to say that it was a playoff game, and Belichick was the flag waver. And I like to stay out of everybody's way, so actually you're never going to find me backstage or side. I like to hide because I just like to stay out of people's way, and I don't think of myself like, I'm going to go walk around. So, but I was getting ready to walk out, and he was walking off the ice, and they were directing him a certain way, and he didn't push him, but he guided one of his, I wouldn't say bodyguards, but one of his assistants or something to move out of the way. And he locked eyes with me, and he walked right over to me, and he shook my hand, and he said, I got him ready, now get out there and finish the job. And I was just like, are you kidding me right now? And it was just like, it was so so needless to say, I didn't really need much more motivation than that. And it was just, but again, that's the respect that everybody has for each other, and I think we as like fans just personify that. We don't think of ourselves, we're all in this together kind of thing, So that was a long answer, but there's been a lot of experiences.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you find any similarities between bartending and a packed arena? Like you performing in front of it? Like, is there anything different? What skills and qualities like you have to have in both roles? Well,
I mean, you're definitely there to, the customer's always right, and the customer's always the focus. And, you're down there singing. It's not about, for me, the anthem is obviously about, our country, our veterans, but also about, everybody. It's something that we all get to share, no matter who we are, what our backgrounds are. That's one song that, I think unites us, and we all get to share in. So, I try not to trivialize it. I try not to turn it into a concert or all about me. It's got nothing to do with me. So you're up in front of people. People are relying on you to get it done. And you definitely don't want to make them unhappy. So I guess there's some similarity. I never thought of that. That's a good question.
What's the biggest crowd you've performed in front of? Like all-time biggest? Like either nervous-wise, or just like biggest so far? Like, does it depend how big the crowd is for you to get nervous, or do you just not get nervous?
No,
you
no.
Don't get nervous?
It was just over last weekend. I was at a school. It was a school event. It was last week. It was an elementary school, and I went in to sing for the kids, and I couldn't breathe.
Really?
Yeah.
Compared to a
well,
TV
I
garden?
mean, it's the same feeling.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I think, an elementary school classroom is just as important as the Boston Garden.
Yeah.
And it's just something that you can't, I refuse to take something less seriously, like, oh, I'm just going to roll in here and rip out a quick anthem because it's just a bunch of kids. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But there's been some times where I have to not think about it. The Bull Gang, as much as they're very supportive and very welcoming of me, they like to give me the business sometime. And it was Game 7 against St. Louis.
Yeah.
And the State Police Honor Guard were lined up in front of me, and we're getting ready to walk out.
Oh, jeez.
And one of the Bull Gang guys taps. I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and he's got this really serious look on his face, and he goes, "Come here, quick." And I say, well, "What's up? What's up?" And he goes, "Game 7 NHL Finals." And I go, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And then he just kind of winked, and they all started laughing, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" But there's definitely, I think, again, you can attribute it. I think anybody who plays sports or who's been up on any stage, you know what I mean? Even to stand up in front of a classroom and, we're in a school environment, you got to get up and give a speech or whatever. It's stressful, but again, you got to enjoy it. And so it's been very, very wonderful.
Yeah.
I got to say that when I first got the role and I did that first year, and it was right after that, I had always had plans to get together. We had talked on the phone with Renee. Yeah. And the plan was to get together. So you have talked to Renee? Oh, I talked to him kind of almost, I wouldn't say regularly, but I've, periodically. Yeah. We like to check in with each other. Yeah. I like to say he kind of looks over me or is just there.
When I was watching a Nesson interview a couple weeks ago when we were planning the show out, you said, "I haven't met Renee. I haven't talked to him yet." So now you've met him since that interview?
Oh, geez, when was that? Yeah, because that must have been in the beginning. Yeah, because what happened was that first season, and then we were going to get together, and then COVID happened, and we were a little wary of people weren't going out and stuff like that. So we said, hey, let's just talk on the phone, and then once this thing gets over with, we'll get together. So he was very, very quick for two things: to say that he really enjoyed how I was. He said that he was concerned about the new person and whether or not they would keep that tradition of making it about the song and about the team and not about themselves. Because we have a tendency as humans or whatever to kind of make it, see singers out there. And I'll say it, there's lots of singers out there. I'm not going to say they're no good, but you're a performer. You're about, if Taylor Swift goes out and sings, she's a performer. She wants to, so she, but with the anthem, it's different. It's not about you. So that was one thing. Another thing he said is you always have to make sure you humble yourself and give yourself check yourself in, so to speak. Don't let your head get too big. Because it really does. It can potentially really the respect and the support and everything, and like I talked about, like being stopped on the street and all that, can, like I said, we're only human, can have the tendency to, maybe like, hey, the big time. But again, it's not about you, and I take pride in that I keep it. You just got to make sure that it's about the event, the team, the people, and me. I would say you, the person, the singer. That's totally secondary. Totally secondary.
Yeah. So the podcast or the interview where you said you haven't met Renee yet, that was 5 years ago.
And we did a card show together. We did a signing actually. It was kind of cool. People could come in and obviously get both of our autographs and stuff. And just he's just always been there for me. And one of the greatest compliments I got was that first year that I was singing. An older gentleman came up to me and had a look on his face like, he wasn't too happy, but he's one of those, he was all. He said, Renee's my guy. Yeah. but you're okay. And then he just turned around and walked away, and I'm like, that's a win. That is a win, because you're gonna remember, he did it for 42 years. 42 years is a long time. I mean, I'm 49, so I mean, it's it's almost my whole life, So, and I'm a traditional person. I don't like change. So, now you're asking an entire fan base to change the way they open a game. That's big, because we're so traditional here. But and people say, oh, you took over, or I said, no, I didn't take over. I didn't replace. We started a new chapter, because you don't replace someone like that. And so I'm always very adamant that people know that.
So Renee did the fist bumping, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do now?
All right,
so I've seen videos of you doing all that. So, explain it.
It's actually really weird, and at first, kind of like what you were asking me about my pregame and all that, and where I was trying to focus in on what I was going to do, and then I say, hey, just let it fly. First of all, people were asking me, are you going to continue doing the fist bump? And I said, no, absolutely not, because that was his, and we want everything that was his to stay with him. So it's kind of weird. So in my classical training, my classical vocal training, when you do performances, whether there's an orchestra or you have an accompanist, you always, when you are presented on stage, you always acknowledge the conductor or the accompanist. So Ron Poster, who is the Bruins organist, has been there for over 20 years. Phenomenal, talented individual. Can play anything. He's just so entertaining. He plays the whole game. I mean, he's just the best. He's up there on the 9th floor, up in the back. He's not in the arena. Nobody knows who. Well, people know who he is, but I'm saying, here I am out on the ice and in the camera and all. And he's stuck up there. So, I don't know. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was just so happy to be singing with him. So I started just pointing up to him and mouthing. I'd say, "Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron."
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron.
That's because I want to acknowledge that he was right there with me. And then I was like, well, I got to do something. I made it. At first I was like, well, I got to come up with something really quick. Like, what's going to be my signature move? And everybody wanted to know what it was. So. And it was really bad the way I went about it, because there were some things I tried that just looked stupid. Torrey Krug used to do this thing where he'd skate on like one skate and do this thing, and I think one night I was like, I'm going to try to do the Torrey Krug thing, and I almost fell over, and I get home, my wife's like, hey, I almost lost your balance. I was like, oh, you saw that? She goes, oh yeah. And then I was like, something will come. So one game a couple of seasons ago, I don't know, they may have lost a couple in a row, but I felt strongly enough that after I pointed up to Ron, I pointed over to the team. And I just started doing this thing, and I might not have been saying all nice words. Well, not appropriate words, we'll say. But I was, let's go, let's get one, whatever it is, and let's go. And I started doing that. And I was just like, all right, whatever, and ran off the ice, because that's the other thing, too. You can't spend too much time on that rug, because they're taking that rug off the ice, whether you're off it or not. That is a true, I have seen people come up off that rug. They are pulling that rug out. They don't care who you are. The rug's coming out. You got 10 seconds after you sing, get off. But no, they're great. So I was at an event the beginning of last season, and the team happened to be there. I was at the Ray Bork's gala for Pete Frady's. Wonderful event. Let me plug it now. He does it every year, the beginning of the season. When you see Bork's gala, you have to be there. It supports Pete Frady's. Wonderful guy, both of them. And I walked over, and I hadn't met Montgomery. And all I wanted to do was say, hey, Coach, it's an honor to sing for you and the team. I rehearsed it in my head. That's all I wanted to say to him. I wanted to shake his hand. And I got over to him, and he turned around, and I got, hey, Coach, and he just started flipping out. And he's going, we love it when you start doing that thing. And he started like mimicking me the way I point and stuff like that. And I was just getting all jacked up. And he's like, that's great. Keep doing it. And I was like, all right, I'll talk to you later. We took a picture, and I walked away. And I was with my wife, and she goes, well, I think we know what your signature move is now. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to stay with that. So, again, it goes along with what I said before, too. Yeah, I'm out there to sing. I'll, point up to Ron, point over to the team, but then that's it. I don't need it. It's not about me. Get off the ice and let the boys play. But I sometimes will watch them, and they seem to like it. So the players and all that. So Stick with what works, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you go through the tunnel? Like when you get there, do you go through the player entrance, get all that?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I actually have no contact with the team at all. I'm on
really?
the opposite side, so where they come out, the bench, I'm on the opposite side.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And again, I'm a strong believer with, I'm a team player. Everybody has a role on the team.
Yeah.
If there's no reason why a lineman needs to be throwing passes to wide receivers.
Yeah.
So the lineman stays with the lineman and the receivers stay with the receiver.
Yeah.
I stay over my area and I do my thing. If they want me to go over and talk to the team or whatever, I'll do what I'm told to do. But I'm there to sing a song and to get off the ice and go home and do my thing.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want to be a part of everything, but I have a role and I know my role and that's it. But I've been at events and the guys will come up and say, hey T, hey Todd, how you doing, and this and that, and I've met them at other events, and that's so that's so heartwarming that I fanboy. I'm not gonna lie, I fanboy. I sit there and I go, oh my God, Brad Marchand knows my name. It's a great experience. You know what I mean? And I'm a fan just like everybody else in there.
Yeah. How early do you get to the games?
Not as early as probably people think. And again, that all fits into the superstition. So I like to take the train in, the orange line, because I'm up on the North Shore.
So do people recognize you on the train?
Yeah, and I did that because I get stressed out. Like if I'm driving in, and then there was one time I caught some traffic, and I was like, this quite possibly could be a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna avoid all this. So I just park at Oak Grove, which is the end of the orange line.
Yeah.
I live up in North Shore. And I ride the train in. And that's great too because, people will, hey, you the singer? And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, why are you taking the train in? And I'll be a little smart aleck and I'll say, well, how else am I supposed to get there? And, oh my God, the Anthem singer's on the train with us. But I think that goes to like what I said before. I'm just a fan, like, another fan just like them. And so I get there about 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
If it's a 7 o'clock game, I get there about 6. And plus you don't want to be in the way and stuff like that. So and again, I get there and stay over my little area.
What were you doing when I met you? I don't know if you remember this, but I did meet you at a game right there.
Yep, yeah. So that was actually the Bruins Foundation had the table there, but I went out because a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a long time said, hey, I'm going to be at the game. I'm going to be sitting in section whatever it was. Can you come say hi? And I said, yeah, sure. So you don't, it's kind of hard for me to sneak.
Yeah.
But like again, who am I? I went out and I said, I texted him. I said, hey, I'm outside section whatever, and he came up, and then it kind of just took off. People kept stopping, and I wasn't gonna say no or whatever. Like, who am I? And see, it was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool experience.
Well, I didn't know why there was a big crowd forming, and then I looked in. I was like, oh,
Again, listen, let's call it what it is. I mean, people, and there was a time, and and it still is. Like I just kind of, why do people want a picture with me? But I love it. I love interacting with people, and my whole thing is if it makes someone happy and we're putting smiles on people's faces, then why are we not going to do it? And again, as long as it doesn't get, as long as you keep it all in perspective, people just want a picture. Well, then let's get a picture. And then it's kind of funny too. People say, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother you," or "Hey, can I take a quick picture?" I'm like, take your time. Don't make it quick, And I like to ask people, "Hey, where you from? What's your name?"
That's what you said to us.
Just because it's kind of cool, and you never know who you're going to meet or where they're from. I've met some people from. There was that night. There were a couple people. They were from Germany.
Really?
And I was like, oh, really? What do you think? And we'd start talking, and my wife sometimes has to, if she's with me, she has to kind of like, all right, stop talking, I like people, and I like that. It makes people happy, because I think that's what it's all about.
So you mentioned earlier you've done Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins, Patriots, all of them?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Been very fortunate to do all that, and actually I'm a big NASCAR fan.
Oh, so have you done NASCAR?
I have. So up in Loudon, I've done the past. They just booked me again for this upcoming season.
Oh, really?
So I think this is going to be my 5th year. I kind of lose count. It's really not, it's not about like, I've been doing this for X amount of years. But, that's the other part of it too, is you show up somewhere and people are, it's always like, oh, we're so happy that you're here, and it's like, wait a minute, you don't know how psyched I am to be here. Like, wait a minute, I'm the fan here, and so when I showed up to do my first NASCAR race, and they were like, thank you so much for taking the time, and on the outside I'm like, oh yeah, not a problem. On the inside I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I'm exactly where I want to be. So again, just I've been so fortunate. And being asked, and I love to travel. I love to, because I feel like there's Bruins fans everywhere.
Yeah.
I got flown down for a private, to a graduation party. A young lady's father. They were actually transplants from Massachusetts, but they were living in Jersey. And the guy called me. He got in touch with me and said, I need to have you at my daughter's graduation party. And I said, oh, cool. And he goes, what are your rates, or how do you charge, or whatever? And I said, well, it's not about the money, but I mean, it all kind of goes by where you are. And he goes, we're in New Jersey. And I'm like, okay, well, I've never been. He's like, yeah, we'll fly you down and this and that. So I got flown down, and they put me up in a hotel, and it was a young lady who was entering the Naval Academy. And they were all veterans, and it was great. So not only sang the anthem and God Bless America, and spent some time and met a lot of great people, but it's just been such a unique experience. And I went to Quinnipiac just a couple weeks ago to do their home opener against Penn State.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, people are like, you're really going to drive to Connecticut? I'm like, yeah, why not? And I've done the women's, the WNBA, and
oh, really?
It's just been a lot. It's been a lot of fun.
Did you do the Suns for NBA?
Yeah, yeah. And I have a daughter who's 13, so she plays basketball. So and again, most people be like, hey, I'm singing for the WNBA, or I'm singing for this, and I'm saying, oh, my daughter gets to see. So we got there early, and I'm watching her. I was like, hey, let's go watch shoot around, and she's watching the big girls. You know what I mean? And it's all about her. And so it's just been. It's been great. People are like, oh, did you go and gamble? I'm like, no, because it was at Mohegan. I said, no, it just went down, and we had a good time.
Yeah. Have you ever? So have you been with the Bruins when they won a championship?
No.
But have you held the Stanley Cup before?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Do you think you will if they win?
Oh, I don't want to. I don't know. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. I wouldn't say no if it was offered. But again. When they win it again.
When they win, yeah.
Those guys, that whole organization just has worked really hard, and I just go out and sing a song, So it's, but if they, hey, I'm open.
Yeah.
I'm available. Let's just say that.
You grew up a Bruins fan? You've done all that?
Yeah, it was funny. I never played hockey. I tried to learn how to skate. I maybe was a bad skater. Played football, and actually. Tennis. I always played tennis. But
football and tennis? Yeah,
but growing up in Rhode Island, not that, we were poor or anything, where we can, it was something that we couldn't do, but it was more of, we had, I have 3 brothers, so there's the 4 of us, and I'm the smallest one.
Yeah.
We would say to my parents, we want to go to a Red Sox game. It's like, well, we'll go to Pawtucket. Back when, and then we want to go to a Bruins game, and we'll go to Providence Bruins.
Yeah.
So, we had those local teams, and I didn't see my first Bruins game until I started working there.
Really?
Yeah. In my so basically, I in '98. So I actually, I'm sorry everybody, closest I ever got to the original Boston Garden was on '93. Driving through Boston. I just never, we had everything, I'm kind of like a homer, we had everything we needed in Rhode Island, and, as far as events and venues and things like that, and every concert seemed to come through Boston, always seemed to come through Providence, so, whatever. And, I did my undergrad at Plymouth State, so, it was either, it was, so and the same with the Celtics. I never saw a Celtics game in person until I started working there.
Really?
So it's kind of it's been a unique experience, but always a Bruins fan. And my father actually, depending on the age of the crowd watching this, my father grew up watching the Rhode Island Reds, which was it's kind of hard to describe, but we're the professional team in the area. And I know that Rick Middleton played for them, and a lot of the the older Bruins guys. But they played in a really almost like you see on TV, like Slapshot or something like that. They had chicken wire in the corners and stuff like that. But pretty much, but always a New England fan.
So so you went to did you go to a Celtics game first or a Bruins game first?
Well, no, it would have been the Bruins first.
Bruins, yeah.
Because they start earlier.
Yeah.
So just the way the season opens up.
Yeah. Have you been there when they're changing the ice to floor or floor to ice?
Yeah. That's
really?
a pretty, that's something. And I don't want to get out of my scope of practice or whatever, but that's something I always feel like they could charge like admission to.
Yeah.
Because we would do when they used to do a lot of double headers. We'd be in the club and we'd still be working because you're going to finish up the first game and then clean up and all that and then reset and all that.
Because Bruins morning, Celtics night.
Or whoever.
Did you do the Celtics bartending too, or did you just?
Yeah.
Oh, so you did both.
So I'd be in there for the So if there was a game at, say like at 1 or noon and then another game at 7.
Yeah.
So you're there all day.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna and then you do inventory and all that stuff. So where the club was inside the arena, so I lost it. On one of my old phones. I actually made it a point every 30 seconds or something. I walked over outside of the bar and took a picture of the floor, and I could actually go through my phone and see like the breakdown and then the re-thing. It was a really cool. But I mean, you can find that on YouTube and all that. But the fact that I personally had it, but the way that crew works, they don't talk to each other. They don't like not anything negative, but they're like worker bees. The way they and it's amazing. And sometimes we would have a few minutes to sit down and watch them, and we would just nothing like watching somebody work, but like you're sitting there and you're watching this crew, take up the floor and get the ice ready, and you're like, how are they? It's amazing. It's a unique skill and talent.
Yeah. Have you ever sat have you ever even just watched a Bruins game? Like just sat in the crowd?
Live?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, really?
No, because
really?
it's always been, because even if I'm there and I do get invited, like somebody will say, hey, come up to a suite and say hi or whatever. Like I'm talking to people. I'm never really. I would like to just not that I say I don't want to be bothered, but I think it would be cool at some point to just go and sit, but I'm not really too concerned about that right now. Plus, TV is awesome, so they're playing, playing tonight. So
So would you go to would you just sing the anthem and go home?
Yeah. So basically, pretty much that's what I do now.
Oh, okay.
Like the night that you met me.
Yeah.
So sporadically, like I said, a friend could reach out or something like that and say, hey, can you come say hi? And if it's somebody I haven't seen in a long time, if not, if it's somebody that I see all the time, I say, hey, man, I got to go.
Yeah.
Plus, I've kind of enjoyed being able to, with as many jobs as I had in the past, I enjoy going home, and I can get home in time for the start of the second period, and my son's waiting for me, and he's 11, and we sit there and watch the game, and every so often he's funny. He'll be like, hey, you sang, you were just on TV, last period. And I was like, yeah, okay. So, again, I actually would very much like to go to an away game. I've never seen them. Actually, the only away game I've ever seen of any of the professional sports has been Red Sox, and that was a long time ago.
Where was that?
Oh, I'm going to date myself now. That was... Well, no, it was like 2003 or something. I went to see them play the Mets.
Oh, in New York?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
nice.
that was cool. That was a cool experience. You know what I mean? And it's kind of cool to go to another and watch people yell names at your team. You know what I mean? That's kind of a new experience. But as we see on TV, with the Bruins, I mean, you don't even know if it's a home game or not because the Bruins fans are everywhere. But that's something I'd like to do with the kids, with the family. And pick a. We've talked about it. Like, let's just pick one away game. Every year we'll make it a tradition. And we just go to that. And of course, my son, let's go to Toronto. And I'm like, don't you want to go someplace? I just not something that I don't expect an 11-year-old to say, and expect them to say like Florida or something like that. But so.
Do they play hockey?
So my son, he skates.
And then they just play basketball too.
Yeah. So he plays sports. He's wrestling now. Likes to play. He plays football, and then in the spring he plays actually lacrosse. But it's kind of like lately he's been talking about wanting to be a hockey ref because he likes to skate. And I said, well, and we went up because I have the pleasure too of going up and singing, going down and singing for Providence. I've been out to Springfield and Worcester, but we were up in Portland for the Mariners. I sung that game, and he was watching the refs and he was like, oh, see, I could do that. And we were just saying, I think we spent like probably half a period just watching the refs and how they went. I said, you got to be a good skater.
Yeah.
So he's been practicing. So,
Yeah.
He's anxious that we get some outdoor rinks going up now, because the winter's coming. And so he'll be out there practicing.
Yeah. All right, do your kids know that you get recognized out in public? Or are you with your kids?
Yeah. It's funny. My daughter is very shy, and my son is the complete opposite. So my son kind of like eats it up. He likes it.
Yeah.
So he becomes like the official picture taker. So somebody say, "Can I get a picture?"
Yeah.
He'll just jump up and say, "You want me to take it?" And he takes a picture. People are awesome. They're very respectful.
Yeah.
So nobody's really, while I'm like taking a bite to eat or something, come up, or if people see I'm with my family, or sometimes what's happened is somebody will send me a message on social media and say, oh, I saw you at, the 99 and you with your family, I wanted to say hi. And I'll say, well, yeah, you should have come over and said hi, because, but they like it. They tell me they like it. I don't know, but it hasn't been too overwhelming, for them, I don't think.
Yeah. Do you get more like, do people want your autograph too, or is it more like just photos?
It's kind of both. It's weird, and I have horrible handwriting, so somebody will hand me like a brand new. I was at an event over the weekend down in Rhode Island, and these kids were coming up, and they're like, "Can you sign this?" And my son goes, "You got to get a better signature," and I'm like, "I know, and but it is again. I'd be lying if I said I didn't like it, but again. It all goes back to being a positive interaction with people.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to talk about, like sports-wise, bartending-wise, all that?
No, I mean, we covered it. I mean, it's just, I just want people to know that, I love what I do, and I love being involved in the community and love being as helpful as I can. There's a lot of people out there that are, if there's one thing that kind of it, I want to kind of say this quickly. It's interesting. I do a lot of events that are either for veterans or for this or whatever that is. Yeah. And I feel like the public really doesn't know it's happening. Yeah. So there's one event I do every summer. I've done it since I first started singing, and it's the Boston Frogman Swim, and it's in June. It commemorates the D-Day, so it's always around June 6th. And the individuals will actually swim out into Boston Harbor. And it's all to raise awareness for soldier suicide, veteran suicide. And, there's a lot of people there, but I feel like, with everything we see on the news and everything, it's like that should be like the lead story, and what they do. And, there's, the Best Buddy Walk that I do every year, or the Martin Richard, road race, or I can go on and on and on. And I just, those are the things that I really enjoy doing and being a part of. And I just wish that, so I'm actually trying to find a way to promote that or help them promote that, because I think, if the public really saw everything that's being done out there, but I mean, that's a little separate from what we've been talking about, but that's kind of stood out. And I really, I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. I love, obviously love being on the ice. I mean, come on, right? Singing the national anthem, but meeting people, helping people, being there for these events. You go into the hospital with the kids, the children's hospital and stuff like that, and it's just been it's been a great experience.
Yeah. So let's just get into like just you description of who you are other than sports, like nothing with a guard, nothing with that, all just before, and now.
Wow. Yeah, because I feel like it comes into like every aspect that I do, and I mean that in a good way. So like what I do with my work now is I not only work with individuals in the prison and parole system and work with them acquiring vocational skills and job readiness, and then in the community with businesses, so they'll hire them. Yeah. Because the whole idea is that we want these individuals to have a home to go to, and but also a way to support themselves, because they want to as well. Yeah. But I feel like when I'm out, I met with a business today to talk about them getting on board with hiring our people, and they'll want to ask me questions about the Bruins and things like that. But I'm not saying it what defines me,
Yeah.
but it's definitely come into, it's just kind of become, a big part of who I am.
Yeah.
But I think, I love my family. I love spending a lot of time with them as much as I can. And if I am doing events, then including them with what I'm doing. But yeah, as far as who I am, just someone who just wants to help. And I would love that everybody is as happy as I am. You know what I mean? And has the same opportunities. And if, like I said, that goes along with the whole, like, if it makes you happy to take a picture with me, then let's do it. And if we're gonna leave this interaction with big smiles on our faces, my smile is just as big as theirs. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of hard to separate it. But then, and there's gonna be a day when I walk down the street and somebody else. It was interesting. I have to say this. I was talking. We had this great conversation. This initial conversation, Renee and I. Yeah. And we had lunch together, and we were talking to each other and during lunch, and he wasn't acting cagey or anything, but you could tell something was on his mind. And then finally he said, he was telling me all this. He was so positive, so supportive, and everything. And he said, you could tell. And he said, finally, he just said, I have something I gotta say. And I said, okay, yeah. And I'm thinking, well, this is where he tells me he doesn't like the way I do this or do that, So I'm expecting the worst. And he says, it's really difficult to talk to you right now. And I'm like, whoa, like, what's up? And he says, you have to understand that I was the Bruins anthem singer for 42 years. Yeah. And right now, this very second, I'm talking to the Boston Bruins anthem singer. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, like, holy moly, And, I think that really solidified the seriousness of what I was getting myself into, because that was right at the beginning. Yeah. So, I don't know. I kind of went all over the place in that answer, but, as far as who I am, I don't know. I just somebody who wants to have a good time and wants everybody else to have a good time and do the right thing.
Yeah. So how did you start your singing career?
I always sang as kids, me and my brothers. We always sang, school chorus. I was that, the band geek, the music geek, whatever it was. But it was interesting because I also was captain of the football team and wrestled and played tennis and all that stuff. So it was an interesting, different roles. So I just did that, and actually I didn't really expect anything to come of it. I went to Plymouth State to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher more than anything. I wanted to teach second grade. I don't know why. I just wanted to teach second grade, little kids. They inspired me, and I thought I could inspire them. But I found that even in college, I started joining a college, chorale, and I got So somebody said, hey, you should. I'd love to get you in my voice studio. I started taking voice lessons and started really enjoying, performing. And they said you should audition for a show, and this was in college, and I got cast, and it wasn't a lead, but I made the roster, I guess you'd say, and it was something about being on stage. It was awesome, and I really enjoyed how that made me feel, and I kind of stuck with it. And then I got turned on to opera, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So then I got asked to audition New England Conservatory, and I said to myself, well, I can work on my master's in education and then be singing at the same time. And then, school loans and things like that, and I was getting turned down a lot for auditions and things like that. So I had to make a decision, and I said, well, I'm not going to be the next Pavarotti, so time to focus in. And at the time I was dating my wife, and her brother was a probation officer. And he said, well, I'm a probation. He goes, you got an ed degree, why don't you interview to be a probation officer? So, but I mean, going back to singing, that it started right as a kid. Community theater, chorus in school, church. Had a band, like a rock band, and a garage band, and always music was very, very prominent in my house. Didn't matter what type or kind or whatever it was. Music was always in our lives. It was supported. It was. It was actually something that I wasn't pushed on us, but it was very much encouraged.
Yeah. So how did you know you just wanted to go to the Garden? Did you want to do both, probation and Garden?
No. So I was working at the Garden while I was
while you
working,
were
I was
doing that.
as a probation officer, and then, like I said, the opportunity came to
Just
to
sing,
start singing, to do that. But
Yeah.
I always stayed in, like I canted in church and stuff like that, so I
Yeah.
always remained in music.
Hey everyone, so before the show ends, after the show, me and Todd actually went to the Cask and Flag in Marshall, Massachusetts, and the second we walked in there, he got recognized by a bunch of people. He took photos, and it was great. So he actually got asked to sing the national anthem. So let's send it to a clip of that.
I do have the Bruins singer, Todd Angilly, here. He is going to sing the national anthem for us. Close call. Before the game starts. No. All right. All right.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight on the ramparts we watched, who were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, and bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Yeah!
Now let's get back to the show. So do you want to shout out like how people can reach you, your social medias, all of that?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Please follow along. It's not sure what I'm looking at here. Right there. All right. No, it's Boston Anthem Singer, all one word. Boston Anthem Singer. Either on Facebook or on Instagram. Instagram is probably the one I look at the most.
Yeah.
Follow along, but reach out. Let me know about your events. Let me know how I can help. If I'm not available, I'm not available, but I'll always be there to support. And I love sorry to call you kids or whatever, but I love what the kids are doing. We have to, it's a tough world out there. It's a rough world, and we need to support you. So anything I can do to help, and I love being involved.
Yeah. And big shout out to Lori for making this all happen. I reached out to her, we figured out dates, and then we got that all together. Thank you for the team at Marshall Community Media for getting us all mic'd up, doing all the cameras, getting us all the studio space. And yeah, that will do it for this episode. Thank you, Todd, for coming on to the show, and we'll see you guys next time.